Alright, working class beer reviews is looking at Equis Lager Especial. Got me a gas station can. I was able to get this for $2.99. Maybe it's $2.29. I can't remember. I was acknowledged it was cheaper than what most import beers in this configuration cost. Normally they're like well over $3, almost sometimes close to $4 when you get to these Mexican lagers. Let's go ahead and get it poured and ready. Ooh, it's foaming out the top. You see that? So, got my lager glass. It's got some smudges on it. Probably could have. Oh man, it's charged. Oh, it's gonna crest. It's gonna crest very, very slightly. Well, that's what happens when you pour aggressively. But you want to do that, despite popular thought. I took some notes down from online. Dos Equis. Some people you'll hear them say Dos Equis. Dos Equis. No, it's two words. Dos meaning two, Equis, X's. Two X's. It's not Dos Equis. Cuauhtémoc Moctezuma Brewery is the original brewery. I couldn't see who owns it now. Let's see if it has any sort of like distribution. Brewed and canned by Cerveza Cuauhtémoc Moctezuma, Monterrey, Mexico. Imported by, it doesn't really say. So I don't know if this is one of those under like the Modelo brand or if this is one of the other ones. Let's go ahead and top it off. So Moctezuma was the last leader of the Aztecs in 1500. And if you look on the label head, right inside that X, they'll have a montogram or whatever you want to call that of Moctezuma, not Montezuma. So that was in 1500. This is off of their website. You go to their website and they have a history of it. 1890, Wilhelm Hasse founded the brewery in Veracruz. And in 1897, he brews Siglo Equis, or Siglo XX, Siglo Dos Equis, I guess, which is now called Dos Equis Ambar. So that is the amber colored beer. So this is actually the second one they brewed. And I guess at some point they made a heavier one, but I don't think we get that in the United States. So the Ambar came first, and then this came in 1983 in the United States. So I wonder if this is something that was created just for the United States market to try to compete with Corona and, you know, maybe Modelo. I don't know when Modelo started coming to the United States. I know Corona started coming fairly early, like in the 60s, 70s, something like that. And then, yeah, so 1983 is when this started coming to the United States. And it says in 2009, Dos Equis was the fastest growing import. So they are not the top. Modelo's number one now. They eclipsed Bud Light, actually, after the whole Anheuser-Busch Bud Light marketing fiasco that happened about 2 or 3 years ago. So it is 4.2% alcohol. 10 IBU, which is about right. So 4.2, that's in line with like Bud Light, Busch Light, a lot of, or some maybe 4.1, but like yeah, Bud Light is like 4.2, Coors Light, Miller Light. But here's the caveat: it has light beer ABV, but full beer carbs and calories. 11 carbs and 131 calories. That's kind of like what Budweiser has. Bud Heavy. So it's got like light beer ABV, but standard beer carbs and calories. So it's not, you're not really saving yourself on the macros there if you're really paying attention to that. So as you see, it did not develop much of a head, and you know, it's very clear, very humid out here, so it's You see the glass very sweaty, but very clear, golden straw colored, some ascending bubbles. Not a head really to speak of, but it's still presentable nonetheless. I like this glass when it comes to these light lagers. Um, let's give it a smell. Yeah, it just smells like your standard light beer, kind of. They don't make a Dos Equis light. They do make a michelada, and I think like everybody else, they're doing like a zero, ABV beer. So that's just kind of a thing now. A lot of people are becoming more alcohol conscious, not conscience, conscious, since the pandemic era, because I think a lot of people were at home, not working, and had the freedom to drink, and may not have been very good at self-regulating. Let's take a sip. It's got definitely a fuller mouthfeel than a normal light beer. So with the carbs and the calories, you can tell in the mouthfeel it's a little more full, not strong. So that's kind of a neat little combination. So with like regular beers, you get the more full flavored. So you get like the full mouthfeel, but not the full flavor. It's interesting. It's kind of like when you drink a wheat beer and you get that kind of like fluffy ale type texture to it. Very refreshing. Very refreshing. And it works great on a day in the summertime. As you can see, I cut my grass. It looks nice. Put a new blade on my lawnmower, finally. The edge is so rounded and so dull. And I could have, taken it and grinded it myself or whatever, but I had a buddy that had a bunch of extra ones that he had gathered somehow. And I was going to pay him for it, but my coworker, John, he was kind enough to go ahead and say, don't worry about it. I think it's because the price he gave me, and it's like, well, can you break a 50? I had a $50 bill in my wallet. He's like, just don't worry about it. And he just gave it to me. So that was nice of him. So shout out to John. He'll probably never watch this. But yeah, so I think I have had one of the Michelada versions of these. I'll have to do a review of it. I have had the Ambar. Now, you will see these on draft and in bottles, 12-ounce cans, these 24-ounce cans, obviously. I don't know if you'll see them in the big gas station bottles, like the big Corona bottles and stuff like that. I don't know. I've seen Modelo that way. I've seen Corona that way. And, ooh, that felt good. The Corona Familiar. But I don't know if they do Dos Equis that way. But I have seen this on draft, and I've seen the Amber on draft. I prefer the Amber personally, as far as flavor is concerned. But this isn't bad. A lot of people will put a lime in here, or in the can or bottle, whatever, and that's fine. I just mainly got this because it was, well, for one, I need to do a review on it because I check it off my list. And for two, it was a little cheaper than at the place. I got it at a discount Smokes and Liquor, which I've bought a lot of different stuff there. That's where I get a lot of my cheaper stuff. They mark stuff down, but it was in the cooler. We're in the middle of July here, nice and hot. You see the sun just like starting to roast me right now. It's like trying to render my fat. I wish it would, without giving me cancer. It is good. I buy stuff like this on an occasion. It's not something I buy on the regular, mainly due to price. But once in a while, this or Pacifico or Corona or Modelo, any of the big ones. I know I did that Guatemalan beer earlier, and this kind of reminds, I think that one was 5%. So it's like this one feels like a 5%, but doesn't taste like a 5%. And I don't know if maybe you can catch what I'm saying when I say that. So it has, like I said, it has a kind of like a fuller mouthfeel of a 5% beer, but it's the flavor is of a lighter ABV. So I'm glad to have checked this off my list, and I'm honestly surprised that it's taken me this long. It's just, with the imports, and I'm being a cheapskate. I mean, when it comes to stuff like this, when it comes to these tall boys, or these gas 2x4s, we're talking $1 difference, and that's just me being cheap, you know. But that's working class. You get sometimes you're a little more scrupulous when it comes to cost, especially when the economy's just so weary. Um, if you're someone that enjoys a beer on the regular, that's what you do. Now, if you're someone that maybe once a week or once a month or whatever, you'll just I think it becomes a different story. You don't mind investing. It's like whatever you want, you know. I enjoy having a beer after work, or in a couple on the weekends or what. Quantity varies, but still responsible. But I'm that's just a part of my routine, and so therefore cost does matter. I'm not going to inflate my budget to get something a little more bougie, although some probably would really question whether this is a bougie beer or not. But it is good, and yes, it is worth the price. I love it on draft. When I go to like a Mexican restaurant and they have this on draft, or the ambar, delicious. Especially when you get one of those big 24-ounce mugs. Ugh, crush it. It's just great. But for me, when I go, I love to get like 3 tamales and then put a bunch of the spice. Well, what's the term they use for it? Salsa picosa. So like that spicy red salsa you can get, you ask for special. That's what I like to put on there. It's got a bunch of the dried chili de arbol and a bunch of a few other dried chilies, and they, hydrate them and grind them up, and then make this like really dark red salsa. It's really good. It's got a bunch of the seeds and everything, so it'll catch up to you if you eat a few spoonfuls of it. But I like to smother my tamales in that, so I like hot tamales, definitely. And something like this, or the ambar, or any of the Mexican beers would go great with it. And it's another funny thing. If you guys noticed, why do they always serve Blue Moon? I'm like, is that the distributor doing that, or is that like something that the Mexican culture likes wheat beers, and it goes really well with Mexican food? Some people don't pair wheat beers with food very well, but I've always noticed that most Mexican restaurants will have Blue Moon or some other wheat beer that is local to the area. If you know anything about that, let me know in the comments. But I appreciate you watching this video. If I sit here, I will be blinded and sweat myself to death. So I'm going to get off here. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys later.